Tim Chimenti here again with another Know Your Candidate. Today, we're creating a theme of doing interviews in front of whiteboards. We're not in the library anymore. We're actually at Shasta College, my old alma mater, and I'm meeting with Professor James Crockett, running for Reading City Council.
Teacher, yeah.
Not professor? I thought college is professor.
No, so you have to have a doctorate to be a professor.
Is that right?
Instructor would be with a master's.
I never knew any. I just called all my teachers professors in college.
Yeah, well, you know.
Maybe I was hyping them up too much.
I try to be accurate, you know. It's
Mr. Crockett.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Mr. Crockett works.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to do this and meet with me. I love a nice quiet classroom. I'm sure as a teacher, you can never have enough of this.
It's much quieter now than it was earlier today.
I imagine. So just real quick, for no reason whatsoever, you teach what here at Shasta College? What
I teach
subjects?
Government, economics, and math.
All right. Full slate. I'm good at those. No, I'm just good at government. Economics, math, you lose me. But not about me. This is about you and getting to know you as you run for Reading City Council. And that's the first question that I always like to ask. Who is James Crockett? Go ahead and tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I moved here from Wyoming. Wyoming is really cold in the winter and very windy. And I was actually going to move to Australia, and I visited out here in May. And these crazy people were like, let's go swimming. And where I'm from, you do not go swimming in the lake at May, because not unless you have a wetsuit. It's very cold. So I thought people were crazy. And I was swimming in Whiskey Town Lake there, and I was looking around. I was like, wow, I should just move here instead of Australia. And so I did. And the first day, the day I got here, I met a girl that I would marry a year later, have 4 kids now, and went back. It was during the recession. My parents were like, oh, you're crazy leaving a good job in the recession. I'm like, I'm not happy here. So became a teacher. And got graduated teaching in 2012, 2013, and then started teaching out here right around 2014.
Wow. So what I got from that mostly was that Reading is essentially the backup Australia.
Yeah, well,
knockoff Australia.
I've never been to Australia, so I love Reading, and this is I love the people here. I love the climate, the atmosphere, and so I love teaching. I love going to work every day. One of the reason I get into politics is you teach government, and you tell your kids, hey, get involved. It's really important to get involved. And I'm like, I have no idea what's going on here locally. And locally is where you have the most impact with your vote. So I started attending city council meetings, never really thought, like maybe I'll run when I'm like 50 or, way down the road. But then, I was like, well, why not? And so after watching city council meetings for 2 years, I ran, and it was kind of a hair-raising experience, a lot of maybe imposter syndrome where I didn't feel like I belonged. But
2018 is what you're talking about,
yeah,
right?
2018. Yeah, 2018.
We're not talking about this year. We're running.
Not talking about this year. Yep. Okay. I feel good about running this year. I felt good about running last time too, but I definitely have a lot more knowledge. And I've also represented other part-time faculty here at Shasta College. I did that for a number of years, representing 300-400 part-time faculty here, both on the academic side for curriculum and then also on the union side. So something, when they ask what's the difference between you and some of the other candidates, I definitely have represented people before and advocated for them in front of the board here and things like that. So trying to get involved wherever I can, and it all makes awesome classroom, things to talk about, right? So I'll talk about the politics here locally at Shasta College. I'll talk about them at the city level, and typically that's a little bit more engaging than talking about whatever's going on in China or something around the world. They like talking about local stuff, so it's been exciting for me personally, and then exciting to bring a dynamic like that to the classroom.
I like it. It seems like a lot in this election cycle for city council with 10 candidates. Mm-hmm. A lot of people either have a little bit of government experience or they ran prior unsuccessfully for city council. Now they're running again. So I need to ask, as you just touched a little bit on it, but what really do you think went wrong or held you back from winning in 2018? Was it just lack of experience?
So no one had heard of me. That's part of it. But so I'm kind of an old school in terms of the way I look at politics. I think you should have a job, and then you should serve your community if you're able and willing. And so I'm not interested in raising money. I've watched city council meetings, and I've seen people that give money that come to city council meetings and stare at people that are up there, not trying to insinuate anything, but like, I don't want to deal with that. I've had a number of people offer me money, and I've said respectfully no. If I win, I don't want to have that weighing on me when I make a decision. I'm doing this to serve the community, not enrich my life, not get a political career going, not looking at becoming a big career politician or anything. Yeah. I'm looking to serve my community. And unfortunately, in our politics, money is typically what gets you elected. And I'm hoping this time maybe I have a little bit more name recognition. I won't have to. I don't have any signs up or anything like that, right? So if I win, it's going to be all word of mouth. People hear what I say. They like my message. But yeah, I'm not looking to create a political following or career out of this. I just want to serve my community, and I think I do a good job at it.
You don't advertise a lot. You just said it.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking as I was on my way over here, and I saw some signs posted. I was like, I don't think I've seen a single James Crockett sign.
Yeah.
Tell me about why you don't want to do that. Is it literally just because you want it to be word of mouth? You don't want to spend money or anything like that?
So this is kind of my philosophy. If I say something that resonates with people, they're going to talk about it. They're going to say, vote for this person, right? Mm-hmm. If I can't do that, then I don't deserve to get an elected office position. Just because I have more money than the next guy, I don't think that qualifies me, right? So, I mean, I understand that limits me to always being a local politician, and I don't want to be a politician. I want to serve the people of Reading, and that's kind of my main dig. And I love my job. I would love to serve and be able to bring the different experiences I have into the classroom and teach. But I'm a teacher. I'm not a politician, but I am someone that wants to serve the community. And if I can't do that without pandering and trying to play favorites and all that, then I don't really have an interest in doing it.
You have 4 kids. How old are your kids, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, that's a question that changes every few months, so I got to get it right. So so I got 8, 6, 5, and almost 3.
Oh, okay. You guys work quickly, not really pacing those out.
Yeah.
So the reason I ask is because you are raising young kids in this community. They're going to grow up in Reading, kind of like I did.
Yeah.
What do you see right now as the biggest positive, not just for your kids, but in general for people that live in Reading, that grow up here and live here? What is it about Reading that is awesome?
So, I mean, I love the people. The people here, generally speaking, are very nice, very agreeable. And I love that. I mean, we just got all of our kids trained on bikes. Of course, 3-year-old not quite there yet, but going and biking on the trails, like just going to, I don't have to spend a fortune and all that I can just drive a little bit, and I have this pristine outdoor world that I can take part of it with my kids and just enjoy. So for me, it's really about the family. And again, one of the reasons that got me thinking I want to run is I want to make sure that my kids feel like they have opportunity here to stay here, right? So typically speaking, it would be economic opportunity, right? They can get a good job, stay here. They don't feel like if they want to pursue their dreams, they're going to have to go to San Francisco or New York or something like that. I want to create more opportunities so that as they grow, they want to stay here, continue to be part of the community, so I can continue to be part of their lives on a more day-to-day level.
And now, economically, trying to improve Reading, that's a big key word for people in politics, running for local government. We got to help the economy. We got to help businesses, especially as we push further out of COVID. So talk to me. You are an economics teacher.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how you imagine improving the economic layout of Reading.
So I think housing is a big issue right now. Our main 3 economic drivers here. There's a large church that draws people. There's an outdoor wonderland here that draws people. There's also a big retirement community. We don't really produce anything. What we try to get people to do is come here and spend their money. That's kind of our economic driver. Housing is a big problem because when people come here, they got to have a place to stay. So what I really like to see us do is obviously try to bring in outside industry so we actually are creating something, right? We used to be a timber area, right, where we actually produced something. It was timber. That's kind of been shut down, not our fault. The state kind of had a say in that. But 3D housing, right? We just got this new thing with 3D housing. What if we were proactive with setting up government policies to encourage 3D housing producers to come here, create 3D houses here, and it's kind of like we're on the cutting edge of 3D housing, and we can export that around the world, and we can also solve our housing crisis, right? But it requires proactive thinking about policy, not waiting until something is there, right? Not reactive policies, proactive policies. So that's the kind of thing I think that we need to get the economic boom that we want, is look for things that we can do. We can see them coming in, create policies to incentivize that growth before, because again, a lot of the policies we're seeing right now are reactionary. Like we just had a moratorium on vacation rentals, right?
Airbnb.
Very, very reactionary, right? Someone should have seen that coming. Like, hey, we have these issues. We don't have a way to really monitor it, but we wait until it's a big problem, and then all of a sudden, let's declare an emergency, right? Which fortunately, it's not still an emergency. They're working on it, but I like to be much more proactive in figuring out ways to facilitate economic growth.
You did just kind of touch on the biggest issue that Reading has, talking about housing. Positive is the people. What about you specifically? James qualifies you for council. You don't have any prior political experience. Like you were saying, you don't plan to ever do anything more than just city council if you get the opportunity. What makes you a good city council candidate?
So I've listened for a long time. I've gone down, I've commented, a dozen times or so on different issues over the last 6 years. So one of the things that if you listen to the debates that are happening, I will give specific examples of decisions that have been made that I agree with or disagree with and the reasons why. The other candidates aren't able to do that. DeQuisto could, right, because he's been following, at least not years back. So I really listened and kept my finger on the pulse of the community for better part of over half a decade now. And then the other thing is I have represented people before, so I know what it's like to listen and have to judge competing interests. Right, there's definitely some when you're working in representing part-time faculty. There's different ideas on how to approach certain issues, and you have to really listen. And even if the decision you go isn't the direction that someone wants, you need to be able to sit down with them and have a conversation and make them feel very heard. So I feel like I can do all that. I feel like I've got the experience listening. I've got the experience representing people, and if it comes election time and I am honored to be elected, I would love to represent the citizens of Reading.
Do you have like a certain slogan or motto or campaign theme that you are following in these months? Well, I guess the whole election cycle since you've declared. Is there some sort of theme that you're building your campaign around?
There's not. Last time I ran, I had a theme. I think they're kind of corny, I think it's just, my heart is to serve the community, right? So you can build a theme around that if you want, but I'm not looking to create a job out of this. I'm just looking to serve my community as I'm already serving it by teaching students and just continue to do that. And so if you want to make a motto out of serving your community and make it some cliche, great sounding thing, I suppose you could, but just
sounds like a lot of work.
Just serving the community. That's what I'm interested in doing.
So there has been some controversy around city council and some of the decisions they've made in recent years. If you were to be elected, you would be elected potentially with two other first-time council members. The majority of the council is going to be new in that scenario. And there's a lot facing Reading City Council. Lots changing, a lot of things that need to be resolved that went wrong previously. Being ambiguous as possible. How do you make that work with both the council members that would be new, that have also not done the job, and then also those that would be remaining in their seats, which is, I believe, Mazzano and Julie Winter.
Correct, yeah.
So you have to build a relationship with them as people that have already been there, and then you have to build a relationship with two other people who you probably don't know or have met and who are new to the position. How do you go about doing that? That's not easy.
Well, I would do a lot of listening and trying to understand where they're coming from and what are they trying to accomplish? Why are they there? And getting to be part of these debates, you hear quite a bit of it. I know DeQuisto quite well, Winters quite well, and Mazzano quite well because I've been watching meetings. I watched every meeting that Mazzano's been part of, every meeting that Julie Winters has been part of. So yeah, all the current sitting council members, I've seen them in every meeting. So I have a pretty good feel for them. I would obviously have to get to know the others. So I think a lot of it is you've got to work with people, but I'm okay being a 4-1 person, right? I want to listen to the community and see what they're going for and kind of try to bring the other council members along, but also because not every constituent's talking to me, right? They might talk to somebody else. And so really listening, I'm not so much concerned about building relationships and hearing what the other council members have to say, but I'm interested in the information from their constituents that they're gathering to try to work with them. And of course, it's not that I don't care about them. I'm sure they're all great people and stuff like that.
I understand.
But we're representing people here. We're not part of, a power brokers club. And so I'm more interested in hearing who they're going to represent and why they're going to represent those people and how does that align with the bigger vision of, moving Reading forward into the future.
Okay. I like to hone in on, what's trending, what's going on in the city at the moment. And specifically, downtown has seen a lot of growth. And there keeps being more. We have actually today, as we're recording this in about an hour, we have the State of the City address from the mayor, councilwoman. Which, I wish I had context as to what she discusses in that. I don't know. It's not happened yet. But for you, and seeing what's happening downtown, what are your thoughts on that? And again, as someone with an economics background, for me, just looking at it, and someone that grew up here, it's grown substantially. There's a lot to be positive about. But there's also a lot of negatives that come with this growth. Like you mentioned, a moratorium on Airbnbs. Too many people buying up that market. What about downtown specifically, downtown Reading, both encourages you and concerns you?
So the thing that's exciting is there's a lot of growth. There's a lot of decisions that have been made that are really moving us in the right direction. Just for example, it used to be Carnegie Park. It's now where all the food trucks are.
Right.
That's probably, I think it is the longest city council meeting I've ever sat through. City council members now that voted against it make it sound like they were championing the idea. I'm telling you, there's people that voted against it, right?
The park.
It was very close, 3-2. But it's that kind of risk taking, and it does displace people. And again, you've got some competing interests, right? But taking a risk and doing that kind of thing. Again, it was just hours of grueling back and forth discussion, lots of community members commenting. But ultimately, we went ahead. And I think everyone can look now and say that was the right decision to do. I think those are the decisions that we want to keep making for downtown. There's going to be winners and losers. And unfortunately, there's things that you can't make it everybody equal all the time. But listening to the concerns of the people that don't get what they want, right? But I think everybody looks at that area now, that open space, and it's much more inviting for families and for people to come down, and it's a great hub down there. And I think there's other things, the umbrella thing that we've got going. Umbrella Alley, thank you. Just creative ideas like that it takes someone to take some risk and be out there and say, will this work? I'm going to try, right? And the thing that's really important for me is having a city council that champions and promotes that kind of forward thinking, that kind of entrepreneur spirit, whether it's food trucks or an umbrella alley or whatever, because there are voices, and there continue to be voices on the city council that are kind of, we don't want to take any risks, we don't want to spend any money, it's scary, right? And I feel like that is not going to help us get a new sundial or a new park with food trucks or whatever it is.
You got to continue to be progressive.
Yeah,
push it a little bit.
You want to continue to grow, make decisions that give us opportunity for economic growth, and they're not always going to win. They're not always going to be popular, right? The sundial decision was not a popular decision at the time. It was very controversial. Same with, and we just had the riverfront area that could have been developed. I was sad that we didn't at least explore that option. I would have been a vote to say let's go down the avenue of seeing what we can maybe do here. That's not where the council went. If I was on the council, I'd probably want to reconsider that and look at the potential of having this world-class place that never works with any city that's less than a couple million. I was looking at Reading because there's a Reading guy that is a key person that is running that stuff, right? So I'm like, why don't we look at that stuff? It's scary, yeah, because we might lose our riverfront property, but it's still in our control. We can still structure it in a way that we could have, the sundial on steroids. And it's unfortunate, I feel like there aren't people willing to kind of at least explore that path and look at what the options are.
Would you say that's the biggest negative facing development in downtown and just Reading in general? So many people holding back.
So I think there's two things I feel like that are really hurting our development and our prospects. One is, as you mentioned, there's old guard people that are just scared of any change, and that's kind of human nature, right? I think, too, we have a reputation of being very difficult to work with, difficult to build. I've talked to quite a few people that build, and Reading does not have a good reputation about, I'm going to move here and take a risk and do this cool thing. I don't want to do that in Reading because the city council, they're going to debate it for hours and maybe shoot me down. And that sends the wrong vibe.
Well, James, I appreciate the time on a Friday. You already had class all day. We're holding you back from a meeting right now, which I guess you should thank me for that. But before we wrap it up here, I just wanted to ask any closing thoughts, any message you want to make sure people understand. You don't promote yourself. You're real grassroots in that sense. So how can people find you, James, or learn more about you outside of this interview?
So Crockett for Council on Facebook. I mean, I've been on the radio recently. You can Google my name in Reading and you'll find some links there that will, Shasta Scout is a great local journalism source for anyone that's looking for some good local journalism that's dealing with city issues, and they're covering each of the candidates. So I'd encourage you to look there for some more in-depth candidate coverage.
Is that the Shasta College paper? What's the
Shasta Scout. It's independent journalists just started something up, and I always like that thing because it's more outside the box thinking, different perspectives, right? So definitely it's one to check out if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I thought I was the only one on top of this, so I got competition now. Is what you're telling me.
Well, there's a couple of them. A News Cafe. There's around, but
true. A News Cafe. So your thoughts now. Final thoughts. To be more specific, we are less than 2 months from the election.
Right.
How do you feel, and what are you excited about most in the future? Regardless, I'm going to put this scenario on you. Regardless if you get a seat or not.
Yeah, for sure.
What are you excited about this group of candidates that are running for council?
So win or lose, I like the energy. Watching the city council over the last 6 years, I'd say the biggest change I've seen is positive momentum. We are building positive momentum in terms of a number of businesses coming in, right? Stillwater Park 6 years ago was barren wasteland, right?
Yeah.
Now it's thriving. And making decisions that continue to facilitate that kind of growth. And I like the energy, I like the passion that a lot of the candidates that are running this time are bringing. And for me, it's not about win or lose. It's about improving the city, making things better for everyone around. And I don't have to be on council to do that. I know if I am on council, I'll do a good job of doing that. But for anyone listening, I would say participate. Get a vision for what you want for the future. Come down to city council meetings and let us know, whether it's me or anyone else, right? Let us know what you want to see, because this is your city. You should be involved. You should be participating. And just because you think an idea couldn't ever happen or whatever else, well, it definitely won't happen if you don't put a voice to it. So put a voice to the things you're passionate about, the things you want to see in Reading, and be part of local government.
Be proactive.
That's absolutely.
I feel inspired. I feel like I might just run for office.
There you go.
If my bosses hear that, I think there's rules against that. But Crockett for Council on Facebook, that's a great way of getting to know James outside of this interview. And we got, like I said, 2 months away from the election.
Yep.
We're getting close. Best of luck to you, man. Pleasure
Thanks
meeting
so
you.
much.
Thanks for letting me hang out in your classroom.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not taking economics, though, or math. What kind of math did you teach specifically?
It's just basic algebra type stuff, Y equals mx plus b. Remember that? I mean, I can give you a lesson right now.
Yeah, let's do that. We'll turn off the cameras.